Hey guys, it's John. I'm playing 5 Minute, and I have a IM from Israel that is my opponent. I'm going to play a Nimzo Indian. I know a couple other chess YouTubers, Chess Explained and Greg Shahadi, know quite a bit about this opening. I do not, at least from the black side, so this is an experiment for me. It's one of those openings, though, the Nimzo Indian, that I've always felt like I wanted to learn more, but I've never just had the time nor the inclination to learn it properly. And I talked about this in a previous video. I think it's one of the most demanding openings to play correctly. I really believe that. Because if you think of the wide variety of pawn structures and positions that result from an Nimzo Indian, it can get a little overwhelming, you know? So I've mentioned before, like, I don't really recommend it to my students when they're just looking for, a common question I'll get is, what defense should I play against d4? Because often people struggle against d4 much more than against e4. And in my opinion, Nimzo Indian is not the way to go for most people. I mean, it's a great opening and all, but it's demanding. You got to spend a lot of time and energy making sure you play it properly. So, mini rant on the Nimzo Indian over. Probably part of my feeling on that has to do with the fact that, okay, so he's threatening g5, by the way. I should respond to that. But probably my opinion on that has to do with the fact that I don't get that many advantages when playing against the Nimzo Indian because it's such a good opening. But that's how I feel about this particular line. Okay, what am I going to do about g5? Is it crazy for me to play g5 myself? It kind of looks that way. But it does shut down a lot of his play. Man, I don't know if I should play g5 myself, though. That seems risky. Maybe knight h7 hangs my d-pawn. This is a crucial moment, that's for sure. What to do? Okay, this is going to look weird, but I'm going to do it. g5. Because this whole setup is geared towards playing g5 himself. So for one, I'm curious how he'll play against this. Alright, I think I should seek counterplay on the queen side ASAP. I'm worried about the weakened f5 square. I'm not going to lie, guys. I think this square could come back to bite me later. This is a dynamic position. I want to put pressure on his d-pawn. I think it's kind of crucial that I keep my bishop on the d6 square for now, or at least on this diagonal, because if ever knight g3 is played, especially with this queen on h3, knight f5 will just be staring me in the face. I think I basically have to eliminate that knight. Yeah, so he did it. And I could play knight e7, but what if I just take it and then take on c5, on d4 rather? Let's do that. He'll probably take on c5 in between move. But then after I take with my queen, and he takes somehow on g3, I don't know which way he'll take. Okay, interesting. So he's letting me win the d-pawn if I want. I mean, I think I should take him up on that. And then queen takes. I'm kind of skewering. Yeah, I mean, skewering his bishops. And if that knight b4 looks good for me, no? Yeah. He can take on g5, that's true. He takes again, I take his bishop with my queen, and then I'll be threatening d4 check at all times. Well, it appears I've caught him slightly wrong-footed at the moment. I don't think I'm missing anything major, but I believe he's losing material in this position. Yeah. I mean, there's a chance I have to bring my king out to f6, but I don't see a devastating follow-up for him. I mean, he can check me on f4 and my knight is loose on b4. But again, that d4 check move that I've enabled, now that my queen is no longer blocking the pawn's advance,
check.
That's huge. That's going to give me everything. So king out all the way to f6, but I'm not afraid.
Check.
Yeah, I think I just go back. He can sack his rook maybe, but I highly doubt that that's good. Maybe king g6 is better. Nah, he can check me on d6 then. Let's just go here. Okay, let's check.
Check.
We'll close the diagonal. Huh. Weird. Man, I should be winning this. It's just I don't see. Okay, that pawn needs protection, but I can't go queen g6 so easily because I end up losing my knight. Maybe that's a necessary evil. Okay, I think I see a line that's good. I'm gonna try it because I don't have a ton of time. But basically, he takes. I go king g8. He
Check.
takes on b4, and then I play queen to c6. Is my plan. And I don't think he can cope with the threats on g2 and h1. At least I hope he can't cope. I hope he can't cope. Ideally, I wouldn't be giving up my knight for this because I was up a piece, but he had threats against my king. Defending that f7 pawn was awkward. I think he sees my idea now, and that's why he's thinking. But does he have anything better, really? I don't think so.
Check.
I mean, okay, you take on... He can't play... Well, maybe he could... No, queen d7 I can play bishop c6, so that's no big deal. Rook f6, huh? Alright, I'm just going to go threaten mate. I gotta hustle. My king is safe. Okay, I think this is mate in 2.
Check.
Yeah, it's mate next move. Okay. Yeah, he resigned because of rook f1, queen g2 mate. Sharp game in the middle game. Okay, let's have a look. So this line of the Nimzo is the Rubinstein variation. I used to play this line for white. E3 on move. Whoops. E3 on move 4. I've since kind of put it on the back burner in favor of the most popular move, queen c2. Just because I felt like whenever I played e3, I was often getting into situations where they take on c3 and white has to compromise their pawn structure, which is kind of the entire justification of the Nimzo Indian for black. Not that e3 is bad, I feel more comfortable in the queen c2 lines. So I don't know as much about knight ge2 as I do about knight f3, because that's a move I used to play as white. So we got this structure. This has a lot of similarities to like the Queen's Gambit Declined, for instance, but there's some differences, mainly in the position of the dark square bishops, right? Because in a properly played Queen's Gambit Declined for white, usually this bishop is liberated. It's either on f4 or g5. Likewise for black, in a Queen's Gambit Declined, most often the bishop for black will be on the e7 square. So my bishop's out on b4. So there's some differences. Now, traditionally, when they develop the knight to e2 in these structures, as players who play the Queen's Gambit decline for white or black will know, the plan is to go f3 and then prepare the e4 advance. Okay, so f3 and then the e4 advance. However, given the way that I've played this, I think that is a pretty difficult advance for him to get in, right? Like I have 3 pieces eyeing that square, my pawn, my knight, and bishop, and with my next move, rook e8, I make it 4. So I like the way he adjusted because he played g4, opting for more of a flank attack, and that threat of g5 at all times did give me troubles. I played a6 just in case I wanted to drop my bishop back to d6. I thought it would be a useful move to stop knight b5. Also, when I start pushing my queenside majority later, it will never hurt to have that a6 move played, because probably I'll be able to play b5 easier. He went queen e1. This is probably a good maneuver. Stuck the queen on g3. And I decided that was a good moment to bring my bishop back with tempo, because the bishop has run its course of usefulness on b4. I don't really have much more I can do with the piece there. And it kind of gets in the way because I want to play c5, but I don't like the idea of stranding my bishop there. If he goes a3, I might... Well, I guess I could maybe go back to a5, but taking on c3 is not that pleasing for me now. I mean, I'm not damaging his structure in any way if I do that, so... So bishop back here, he plays queen g2, now c5. I think this position is dynamically balanced. White will get some kingside initiative, but I have a solid position. I haven't done anything majorly wrong yet, in my opinion. And I have clear queenside counterplay and central counterplay with just knight c6. And he has a big decision to make about this d-pawn, because if he wants to keep defending it, I think that inhibits his development a little bit. Like his dark square bishop, for instance, is going to have to stay tied to e3. Well, I guess his dark square bishop has to stay tied to e3 in either case, whether he takes on c5 or not. But like his knight on e2 will definitely have to stay guarding d4. I mean, I want to say that I'm even a little bit better in this position, just because I have a feeling it would be harder to play this position for most people from the white side rather than the black side, because I think black's plan is pretty clear. Just knight c6, b5, queen b6 like I did in the game, or maybe c4 or b4, start pushing. Whereas white has to weigh how crazy he wants to get on the king side, and also his king safety. And I feel his development is maybe a little harder to achieve than mine. I wonder, I'm just going to get the engine's opinion. I bet the engine is going to say black is a tiny bit better. Like maybe minus like 1/10 of a pawn or something. Let's see. Well, it seems positive for white. Can't quite make up its mind, but maybe I was optimistic in what I said about my position. Here I go, overestimating my position again. No, ooh, f4. Okay, f4 is pretty interesting. I mean, that significantly weakens his e4 square, but it does prop up the g5 move quite a bit. f4, huh? I didn't really think about that plan. Okay, I'm going to turn this off for now. Going back, so he played king h1. I got knight c6 in, rook g1, and then g5. Yeah, this was a controversial move. I think I spent quite a bit of time on this move. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I spent, what, 1 minute, 15 seconds on this move? Too much time, to be honest, but the g5 threat is significant. It really is. I thought about a lot of things here. I thought about g6, so that after g5 take, queen takes, you know, he's not threatening mate at least, but I didn't like that the sacrifices on g6 are in the air, and, you know, maybe some circumstances my pawn on d5 is also hanging. Well, that's probably not a big issue, actually. I doubt he would even be super willing to take that pawn. But g6 just seems skeptical to me. I've already made one weakening pawn move. I don't think I'd want to put the pawn here. If I'm going to push my g5, my g-pawn, I like g5 better because that shuts down his entire plan with his g5 push. What else did I think about? I think I thought about bishop f8 because after g5, take, I'm solid, but the whole g-file situation makes me nervous. I don't like this so much either. So I'm curious if the engine thinks I made the right call at this juncture. Knight h7, okay, I thought about that move too. Again, I was hesitant to play it because of the d5 pawn. But he's probably not going to take this because I just get instant counterplay on the long diagonal with my light square bishop. What do you think of g5, computer? Well, it doesn't say it's terrible. It says h4. Well, okay, let me turn off the engine again. So after g5, bishop d2, c4, or b5 rather. Another turning point right here because the tension in the center is reaching a climax. I'm not sure what he should do in this position. This goes back to what I was saying earlier about the position arguably being more difficult for white to play than black to play. Because I just have a clear threat, just taking on d4. If he takes on c5, actually, him taking on c5 might not be a bad idea because remember what I was saying earlier about wanting my bishop on this diagonal so that if his knight comes to g3, I can just take it? Well, bishop takes c5 would clearly be the most obvious move to attack e3 3 times. But yeah, I'm not sure about this. Maybe he can just sack that weak e3 pawn. Let's say take, and then... I don't think he wants to go knight f5 because I can take on g1. But it's possible even here he has compensation after, let's say, just rook takes g1. Because that dark square bishop is such a valuable piece for me. This is a headache and a half. I wonder if taking on c5 was better for him at this point. He played queen h3. I went here. And then he did knight g3. But I think from this point forward, I was doing very well. Especially when it came down to the tactics. I'm skewering his bishops. I think black is probably winning at this point. He did f4. And then I went knight into b4, attacking the d3 bishop. And if that d3 bishop moves, I win his d2 bishop. Well, before we get a little ahead of ourselves, let's just check a couple things. This position right here, queen b6, critical position. The pawn tension has reached a boiling point in the center. That's the indicator that something big is about to happen. Okay, so rook gf1. Does it like that move because it wants to advance f4? Well, let's just say I take the pawn. Queen f2. Bishop c5. Here, and I take. That can't be good for white. Keeps giving queen f2, but then it changes its mind and it doesn't like it anymore. Computer's not giving a sensible line right now. What does it think about taking on c5? It doesn't think highly of it. He could do something super passive like knight d1. Oh, that looks ugly. I get so beautifully coordinated here, like if this d4 is mayhem, open the diagonal. This bishop is so valuable for the attack. Once it starts participating, it's a beast. Well, he played queen h3, which the computer didn't seem to mind. I went here. f4. Well, maybe that f4 is a move that both him and I underestimated throughout the game. Because he didn't have a whole lot of pawn action after this. He kind of just sacked that piece on g5. But f4 might be a way to... That's psychologically a risky or a difficult move to find, right? Because it just weakens that diagonal so severely. But then again, if this pawn stays on d5, that is not perhaps that big of a concern for white. I would have a hard time playing f4 myself as white, and I know for that for sure. Wow. Sharp, sharp position. So when he does this, I just take it. Yeah, computer says, vindicates what I was saying. Like, black is just looking really good. Can he bail out anyway? Like, c takes d4, knight d1? Yeah, the engine thinks that's best. And then just counterplay. This looks really nice. If he retreats here, I probably jump my knight into c4, or knight takes f3 even works? Oh, because I'm like just barreling through on the diagonal with d4 coming next. This is massive for black. Yeah, so here. And just one other moment I wanted to check. I'll just leave the engine running because I don't think this is that big of a deal. Okay, so it says take with the knight is even cleaner for black.
Check.
So my king has to come out to f6, but... Oh, I thought that advantage would be bigger. It actually says don't even take the bishop, just play king g6. Again, highlighting how devastating the d4 threat is. Huh. Well, I thought the way I played it was good.
Check.
Did I miss something? So it likes rook ef1.
Check.
King g7, and then what? Queen c7. Hitting the bishop, hitting the pawn. D4 check, queen takes b7, queen c4. Ooh, that's tricky. Defending f7. Wow. So it seems that I should not have taken this bishop. King to g6. That's cool. And his king is more trapped in this line, too, because he hasn't had time to move his rook from g1. Wow. He's just busted. So the extremely natural move, king takes f6. Well, I say extremely natural, bringing your king out to f6 in a sharp position, but that was a mistake, apparently. I wonder if right here I made the right call.
Check.
d4 check here, and then queen g6. Yeah, computer likes it. Cool. So time-wise, I'm still down. I spent about half my time on this move. Because he was posing me some unique problems. I guess I maybe could have played queen c4 too. Although queen c4, he has b3, right? Oh, or queen g5 check, yeah. I spent half my time, but I couldn't figure out what to do because he's threatening my f7 pawn. I thought about rook f8, but I think I rejected it because of rook e7. Hitting the bishop, hitting the pawn. If I take on e1, he just grabs on f7. He has at least a perpetual there. Possibly more. So I'm really glad to have found this queen g6 move. It's paradoxical because I give up the pawn on d4, and then he goes, he can take the knight, but like I said, this queen c6 resource I have, I think takes the cake for me. Or queen b6 check, the engine says, is even better. Oh yeah, okay.
Check.
Yeah, that's like instant death for him on the two diagonals. Uh-huh.
Check.
Yeah, and then he was just down too much.
Check.
Mate incoming. So he resigned. That was a fascinating game. I really enjoyed playing that one and analyzing it. Maybe I'll have to work in some more Nimzo or Bogo Indian or Queen's Indian lines for black. So, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Ran a little bit longer than normal. And please leave me any feedback in the comments. Hope you guys are having a good weekend. Talk to you later.